Hi everyone, so I'm just doing this video for you all because I said that I'd do one to help you guys see some of the alternatives I use with regards to switching from a normal standard rubbishy diet and into a more plant-based healthy diet. So what I'm going to show you in this video is mainly switching into that plant-based. This is not, some of this is for Mucus Lean and Mucus Free, but I want to concentrate on helping you switch into that plant-based diet. I will, if I show you something that's Mucus Lean, I'll let you know that it's Mucus Lean. That goes that little bit deeper, going into a Mucus Lean, Mucus Free way of eating. So what I'm going to show you is the stuff that I would give to Thea, and it's also some of the stuff that if I'm not detoxing and if I'm not eating Mucus Lean, I'm having a treat, this is some of the stuff that I would treat myself with as well. I eat 80% of the time I will eat what I would call Mucus Lean, Mucus Free, and as raw as possible, and then 20% is where I would treat myself and have something that's more plant-based, or every now and again it might be like a vegan cheesecake or something like that, a bit of vegan ice cream. That's my treat, but that's in a 20%. 80% of the time, as a rule of thumb, I will always stick to like a Mucus Lean, Mucus Free type diet. It's a much healthier way of being. However, this journey, it's not about like rushing into things and being like, oh my God, I need to change. And, if you can and you want to, of course you can. But what we don't want to do, we don't want to set ourselves up to fail. We want to know that we can transition into this, and that sometimes we might fall back off the wagon, but it's okay because we just carry on and we keep going, because every little step you take towards improving your health and your lifestyle and your diet is massive. You're going to have massive benefits. And if you're coming from a typical standard American diet, like the meat, fish, dairy, grains, all the acid, pus and mucus forming foods, then switching to plant-based, you're going to have massive benefits. And then you can, once you're happy with being on a plant-based diet, you can then start, looking more into being a bit more Mucus Lean and transitioning. There isn't a time limit on this, unless you are someone that has got extreme, like life-threatening health conditions. Then we've still got the element of time in transitioning over. So I'm going to share with you some of the alternatives that I use for Thea, and sometimes I'll have these as my little treat. And if they are Mucus Lean, then I'll add that in and let you know that that's Mucus Lean as well. So let me see if I can turn my camera. Okay. So what we've got going on over here, so I'll start over here. So I only really use and cook with chickpea as a grain. Chickpea is one of the most versatile, and it's also one of the least mucus forming grains out of the grains. So if you can switch, so here this is chickpea flour, and I use that for making like the chickpea scramble, chickpea omelets, chickpea pancakes. You can do like chickpea rotis, like wraps, all sorts. This is very versatile. This is chickpea couscous. This is chickpea pasta. Now all of those can replace all of that wheat, gluten, acid forming grains that you would normally use. So very easy to replace. I can try and find the name of this one. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I got that off of a supplier on eBay. Most supermarkets sell chickpea pasta, and I buy this. This is gram flour or chickpea. That same thing. So chickpea flour. Then here, like I use the garlic and the onion. I like this as well, the Indonesian goreng seasoning, which sometimes I'll put into, if I'm doing like a savoury chickpea pancake, I'll put some of these in. These are the ones that I told you about that I use for Thea, because she loves the bacon flavour. So when you want to do the vegan carrots, the carrot bacon, it's these that I use here. These I have to order from America. I think it's America or Australia. The company's there, Delicious. They are brilliant. So if Thea has a gravy for anything, you want one of these. It's gluten-free, no MSG, vegetable gravy. Or if you want a stock powder, something like this, or something like this, very low in salt, organic, vegetable, gluten and lactose free. So you want to try and get as much free from stuff as you can. yeast flakes, these are brilliant because these have like a bit of a nutty cheesy flavour, so you can add that to, if you do like a chickpea scramble, you can add that on there, or add it onto like a cauliflower if you're roasting cauliflower. You can add that into all sorts, so that's really, really good. Now obviously Thea likes to have, like for school when she has her packed lunch, she normally has these little pitter pockets, and I do her a vegan chicken and sweet corn like mayo, and she'll have that in one of these, so it's completely plant-based. But yeah, these are brilliant, and you just toast them up and they are fantastic. There's also like the sweet potato wraps, which they do. This is like quinoa. I always use quinoa. So I never have rice. Rice is very acid and mucus forming. So if I'm going to replace rice, I'll either use quinoa, or you can literally just, if you've got a food processor or a blender that's got a pulse function, just chuck a massive chunk of cauliflower in there, pulse it up, and it breaks it down into like little pieces of rice, and you've got cauliflower rice. And it cooks in seconds, so you just chuck it into your stir fries, you know, or you can steam it and use it as a rice if you're going to have the curry. Like I always use cauliflower rice in curry. You could chuck broccoli in the blender and pulse it up and have broccoli rice, or sweet potato. You know, it's just about becoming a little bit adventurous and just thinking, what can I do? It's like, instead of having noodles, I get courgette and I run it through a spiralizer, and I'll have zoodles, which you sim with the raw bolognese. So it's just about being a bit inventive, but steer clear of the rices. Obviously, if you're just going plant-based and you think, I can't give up rice, keep the rice, that's fine, because coming off of rice is more of a mucus lean thing. But if you can switch and stick to quinoa, cauliflower rice, broccoli rice, you're much better off doing that if you can. And the kids actually love it, and it's another really good way of getting those green vegetables into them, so really worth thinking about that. So this is some of the sauces that I might use sometimes. I often try to make my own sauces, but I always have these in the cupboard because, you know, sometimes you're a busy mum and you need to just chuck something together. They do a vegan white sauce. You know, you could add some honey mustard to this, and you'd have a really, yeah, so you can have a really nice honey mustard sauce, you know, by adding in honey mustard and then the white sauce. There's a cheesy sauce. This is the curry sauce that I'll use for Thea sometimes if I'm not making my own, which is Meridian, and it's a vegan korma cooking sauce, which is, she loves this. You know, it's not got, when you're looking at the ingredients, what you're looking for on any of these things that you're buying is the least ingredients as possible. I mean, this one's mainly all spices, you'll see, and it's got agave syrup. You know, on the whole, this isn't actually a bad sauce to use because it actually doesn't have really nasty stuff in there. It's wheat-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, so you can see what it's made of in there. So actually that's really not a bad sauce to use at all. So I don't mind having this one, and I even treat myself to this one because it is scrummy and it hasn't got that bad of stuff in there. Now, instead of using soy sauces for all the seasonings, I always use liquid aminos. 2 different brands, same thing. This stuff is brilliant. You know, you're much better if you can get this rather than soy, and I use that for sauteing, stir frying, marinading, all sorts. Brilliant stuff. Oils, again, you want the least mucus forming oils, and ones that you know, can cope with the high temperatures and not cause too much acid in the body. So I always go for avocado oil, hemp oil, or coconut oil. I don't cook with the olives or any of those oils because they're more acid forming for you in the body. There's some chocolate drinking powder there, which is just, it's 100% organic cacao. This is brilliant stuff. You can use that for when you're making your pancakes. I add that into the chickpea batter mix to make it a chocolate chickpea pancake. Flour wise, that's your gram, that's chickpea. Coconut flour, green banana flour, you can use this for like banana breads. Teff flour, I always use these are the least mucus forming. Again, if you're just going plant-based and you still want to have wheat and you still want to have gluten, then you're not limited, you just eat what you like. But you know, I would always recommend, if you're going to make those changes, you may as well start switching over to these because you're making a shift anyway, so you may as well start. Sweetening wise, you know, I've got coconut palm sugar, I can use mesquite powder, this is really good, you can add that in to sweeten things. And then these things here, these are really good. So I always use carob syrup for sweetening for Thea. It's not really got an awful lot in there, you'll see down here, so it's sugars from fruit basically. So carob fruit sugar is a healthier alternative. And this company's Sweet Freedom, they do the carob with a vanilla flavouring, and you'll see on the back again. So it's basically natural fruit extracts from carob and apple, and that's it with a vanilla flavour. That's it. So these are really good for using on pancakes and sweetening things, and that company do lots of different flavours. Or acacia honey is one of the other things that I'll use for Thea for sweetening. If you're going to look at vegan, they do vegan jelly. So, you know, you can literally find anything. This is like a real treat. This is a brilliant company, Bouja Bouja. This ice cream is incredible, and it only has 5 ingredients, and that's water from reverse osmosis water, coconut syrup, cashew nuts, cacao or cocoa, and sea salt. That is all that's in there, and it is scrummy. They also do these amazing vegan truffles. This is Thea's favourite. This is her treat, so I buy these, and when she's been exceptionally good, she gets one of these as a little treat. She also loves these, the little dark chocolate rice thin cakes. So that's some of the alternatives that she has from there. Mayonnaise wise, again, I mean, she just, you know, this isn't brilliant stuff if you're going to go Mucus Lean, but for her, it's a vegan alternative. It's perfect. It's mayo. It tastes really good. She has it in with her like vegan chicken and sweet corn wrap, and you know, for her, it makes life simple and easy. Now, obviously, you've got all of the plant-based meats. Of course, they're not. I'm just going to turn you around again. Hang on. Let me just. Yes, so, you know, the plant-based meats are not ideal because they are acid and mucus forming in the body. However, they're nowhere near as bad for you as meat, fish, dairy and all of that. So if you're switching over, switch over to those. You know, a lot of companies do the little vegan chicken pieces, and you can stir fry them up with a bit of spices and herbs, and you really won't know the difference. Thea has that with the mayonnaise and the sweet corn, and that's how she has her vegan chicken mayo. You've just got to try the different meat alternatives. It's not going to be the same as eating meat. There's a whole different thing around meat. You know, you're not eating the flesh of an animal, so it's going to taste very different. What you've got to understand is your body has got used to certain textures and flavours from the meats. But look, like, let's face it, nobody eats raw meat. And when we cook it, we more often than not have to lather it in oil or cover it in herbs and spices to make it taste decent. So we're not actually getting the proper flavour of meat anywhere when we eat meat. We're getting the flavour of all the oils and the fats and the herbs and the spices. But we get addicted to the flavour of those meats. And also, what you've got to remember is when you're eating those meats, when that animal is taken to slaughter, there's a lot of fear and a lot of adrenaline that pumps around the body, and in the moment they're killed, the adrenaline's stored in the tissues of the body. So when you eat meat, you get a hit of that adrenaline, which is quite addictive. So of course it's gonna be very different when you're eating a plant-based form of meat. You just got to get your head around that. It doesn't taste disgusting, and you can flavour it with lots of different things. And what you've got to look at, rather than going, oh, it's disgusting, I'm not going to eat it, I'm going back to eating meat, is what you've got to look at is, why are you making the changes? You're making the changes because you want to feel healthier, you want to feel well. You don't want to keep chucking parasitic stuff in the body, because with meat, it's one of the biggest ways that we actually ingest parasites, because These animals are full of parasites and pathogens, and no matter how much you cook that meat, you will never kill off all of the eggs. So you're ingesting it and away you go, you know, there they are in your body. So when the brain's going, oh, I'm not going to eat this, I'm just going to go back, give it time. You've got to make these changes. You've got to push through these mental barriers and these mental blocks, because otherwise change never happens. If we're sitting in our comfort zone and we're not willing to push beyond that and break through, you're never ever going to achieve that health and that wellness and that life of bliss and happiness and vibrancy that you're looking for. We have to break through those challenges. It's like when I did that 60+ hour water fast. There were some days, because we was doing such physical activity, and there were some days there where I was like, what am I doing? This is so hard. You know, and part of me was like, just leave it, don't do it. But I know the moment that happens, I know that on the other side of that, there is going to be this massive breakthrough that's going to propel me into another level of feeling more well and more happiness and more and being more healthy. So don't give in when the brain goes, oh, I don't want to do this, it tastes disgusting. Try something else. Persevere and keep going, because the benefits of it are huge. So it's really worth sticking to. But I'm going to go over to my little spicy herby. I'm going to take you over and show you some of the other things that I use up here. A lot of these are supplements, which I'm going to do a separate video on, but I just want to show you some of the things that I'll use in cooking. Obviously, you need to be eating lots of fruits and vegetables, because, you know, that's the only way to go. So cooking wise, so you could use, so up here we've got psyllium powder, that can go in cooking, flaxseed, linseed, cacao nibs, chia seeds. That's the sea moss, which we'll talk about that another day, but you can use that in cooking. Cacao powder, hemp seeds, licorice root, psyllium husk, bee pollen, then there's like all the seeds and things like that. And these up here are all the seeds which I use for sprouting, because when you sprout your own stuff, fantastic. The other thing which you'll probably use in cooking, so up here is the Himalayan black salt. This is the salt that tastes like egg. It's really bizarre. It's amazing stuff. It's a salt, but it really does taste like egg. So if you mash up an avocado with some vegan mayonnaise and you add a pinch of that, you suddenly have egg mayo. And it's the same when you're trying to do like maybe like the chickpea omelette. Add in some of that black salt and you've got an egg flavour. Down here we've got turmeric, you can use that in cooking as well. Gojo berries, I use that in my cooking. The others are supplements which we will go through. There we've got some polyflora honey. That's probably all I use in the cooking side of things. Just switch myself back round. So hopefully that's given you some ideas. Just remember, you know, we don't actually have to replace meat with something. So if you find you don't like the alternative meat products, then who says you have to replace the meat anyway? It's up here. We're conditioned to think we've got to have meat, vegetables, potatoes and gravy on it, well, especially if you're from the UK, on a plate. And it's one of the things I had to unfood my brain. You have to unfood yourself and these beliefs and these patterns we have around thinking that, well, you've taken something off my plate, so I have to replace it with something. Look, when I do that curry, you know, I do myself vegetables. I literally chop up a bunch of veggies, I stir fry them off, add the curry sauce, add in the cauliflower rice, you know, pretty much not far off being Mucus Lean curry, tastes amazing and doesn't have meat in it and I don't miss it. You know, it's just like, so you just got to be a little bit inventive, really. You've got to get a little bit creative, let that creative flair come out. Remove the mental blocks around it, because that's what's going to hold you back. You know, this whole lifestyle change is 80% mental and 20% physical. Up here is what you need to change, and then all of a sudden you'll be like, there's a whole world that opens up of stuff that you can make and do and create. So I hope this has been helpful. I'll do another one on the supplements and I'll go through what the individual supplements are and what some of them are good for. I'll try and do them in little clusters because there's lots of them. So maybe I'll do a session on ones that are good for the lymphatic system and so on and so forth. But I'll have a look and work that out for you guys. But just remember, nature gave us everything we need to be healthy and well. If something has had a lot of handling by humans, it means it's processed. We need to start cutting it out of our diets. There is so many ways out there now. It's so much easier now to switch to plant-based than it's ever been. There are so many alternatives. Every supermarket is doing something plant-based, vegan. So it really is just going out there, working through that mental block and going, I'm going to go for this. Now, we're here in the group to support you through this change. So if you really want to go for this change and you're like, okay, I need the support, then you know what, maybe we can do a group transitioning period or something. We'll work something out. You let us know in the comments. We want to be there for you. So if you want us to do like a month of transitioning over to a plant-based lifestyle, me and Carolyn will come together and we'll create some kind of event that we'll do in the group, where those of you that want to transition, you want help transitioning, we'll create something in the group where we can do that as a collective, which makes it that little bit easier. So anyway, if you've got any questions, please do reach out. We are here to help you get well. So take care, lovely.